And we are live. Hello, welcome to Sunset Stitches, everybody. My name is Trevor Conquergood, and this is Digi-Talk number 13. And so it's going to be a 1 hour presentation. I'm going to do a little bit of digitizing for you guys, and everybody's welcome to stop by the Sunset Stitches studio and interact with Trevor. And Nicholas is here. If you guys are following along, my last Digitalk presentation, Nicholas was on holidays. If you guys remember, Nicholas was in New York City last time we did Digitalk, and he's here again today. So thank you, Nick, for putting Chris's name up there. How's it going, Chris? From Middle Tennessee, Eagleville, Tennessee. So nice to see you. I love visiting Tennessee. I had my Tennessee sweatshirt on this morning, but it got kind of warm, so I switched to my shirt. But I love visiting Tennessee, Chris, because of course that's where the offices of R&K Distributing are, and that is of course my main partner in embroidery. I'm the software manager for R&K Distributing. I work for R&K to manage the software, like the Floriani software and the Quilter Select software. And so we have some amazing, amazing programs. And a lot of people who have those programs like to follow me. But also my embroidery designs, for Trevor and Friends Embroidery Club. So Digitalk really is just an open time. When I come on, excuse me, it's smoky up here. I mean, like there's forest fire smoke in Saskatoon right now. And so hi Vicky, how's it going? Yeah, there's fires burning up north, and so the smoke blows around, and we've actually been pretty fortunate this summer to not have many smoky days, but I want to say this is like 3 or 4 in a row now where it's kind of been here, and we're ready for it to leave anytime soon, right? As everybody's like, I hope it blows over on their way and not our way. So, do you remember last year when all the smoke blew down and like covered up New York City? Boy, that they couldn't believe what it was like. Well, it's not always like that, but at times it can be. It just depends on, I guess. But hopefully, they can get all the fires under control, and Mother Nature helps out and rains on everybody once in a while, right? And keeps everything good. It might be Chris, the Jasper fire. We are pretty much directly kind of east of that in terms of longitude. So yeah, it's somebody's fire. It could be. I don't know if it's coming down from the north, because there's fires wherever those forests are. There's fires in them usually, and I'm south of that in the farmland. But it's only 2 hours north. I'll tell you guys a quick story, and then we're going to get going. But last week I was not live, and that's because I took the time off, and I went to a music festival in the forest. Thank goodness it wasn't burning there, but we did see some of this smoke. But yeah, I went to the Ness Creek Music Festival, and I actually volunteered to work the front gate, so I checked everybody in. Was sometimes the first face that people saw after waiting in line, and that was a lot of fun. Yeah, so my whole family was there except for Nicholas. Nicholas stayed home and took care of the dog because he had just come home from New York and it was our turn. So he got his big trip with Tatum. And then we went all up into the forest for a few days there last weekend. And it was kind of fun. And there's beautiful music, and just everybody was very happy. So now I'm home and ready to go with Digitalk again. So thanks for asking. But how are you guys doing this summer? I also wanted to I'm going to do some digitizing today, and I also wanted to talk about what happens when you update your software. Can you what do you need to how do you update your workspace? And did you save it, or do you know how to save it, and do you know how to kind of customize it? Because I like to customize mine, and typically when I do, when I update, and for me when I'm testing, that might be sometimes it's daily. When we're getting ready to release a new software, I may have to go back and forth and check things a lot of times. And so I want to show you guys what I do after I have to, when you update, some of those important things to remember. So yeah. Thank you, Chris. Says Forest Festivals get us back to our ancient times. Yeah, it really feels like that when you're walking around in the forest. A lot of people were barefoot in the forest. Not me. I wear a good pair of boots when I'm walking around out there. Not fully a hippie. Might have the long hair. Um, anyhow, you guys, it's great to see everybody today. How's everybody doing? I can see Joyce has stopped in from Mesa, Arizona. How's Joyce going? And Lee has stopped in from Michigan. How's it going? So thank you guys. Okay. What I'm going to do is get you to bring my screen a little bit bigger, Nick. And I'm going to, these are the designs that I did for, I always do a couple to share with you guys. And this week it's, I always, you must remember the story, right? With the bees and the bee tree and Christopher Robin and the balloon. If you're a member of my FTC workshop number 4, then you get to download all the designs, that I do. And that's who they're for. Of course, anybody's welcome to drop in live and visit with me. But if you're a member, if you're not a member, you can join. Here's a discount. Trevor 99. That's good to join for my workshop 4, and it drops the price down from $129 to $99.97. So if you have any friends you want to refer, just tell them to use that code Trevor 99 when they want to join. But don't they stitch out cute? And I always do a little Facebook reel, I believe is the word that you call it, or a video, whatever. I do a little Facebook video to show them all. So yeah, we're going to be live next Wednesday. So you can mark your calendars. I'm back in the studio, and we may need to take another Wednesday off before the summer's over, but we'll see. Digi-Talk's rocking and rolling again. So here's my Winnie the Pooh bee tree, or not the bee tree, the bee. Here's the designs that I did already. So you can download them now if you're a member. I've been putting them in my library. So, I've got kind of like all my past ones in here. So when you collect the new ones, that's where I would save them anyway. But so the idea here is that I'm using my library. The library is like a specific spot. Whatever you put in that spot will show up here, and you can put your own stuff in there. If you've got the Floriani software, you can use this, library. And so here we'll grab and bring Winnie and Piglet in, so that it's like you could build your own little scene, if you wanted to put text and different pictures together, build a bunch of designs together, just keep shopping for designs. Well, one of the things that kind of I like to do is make this bigger. Right? So you point on library, you point at number 4, then you see the designs. But if there's more designs than you can see at one time, you have to scroll, right? And some of my libraries, what if I click on my Embroidery Club season 1, and then I go here? Well, now the list is long, like really long. I can just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And can't you see more at one time is kind of my thought. Like, why is it so small, right? So what you can do is just mouse on the edge and you can make it bigger, right? You make it as big as you want. And so you can change it. Now, if you only have like the free version of the Floriani software, you won't have the ability to save it. But for me, like if I'm like, oh, that's cool, so now I can see all of this at one time, all I can do is go on my library, tell it what I want to look at. So here's my Floriani free monthly designs for April 2010, and those are the designs. Now, if you want to open one, you just click and drag to bring it onto the workspace, and it adds into your area. Maybe you need to put a hoop on the screen to figure out like if it all fits or not. So I'll just pick a hoop. Like if you're so lucky to have like the Solaris or the Luminaire, then that's your hoop size, right? So yeah, you can fit all this stuff in there and more, or you could resize it or whatever you want. So this is the idea. Oops, I think I didn't. That's not grouped together because I just took Winnie the Pooh. Yeah, see, the ones that you drag in are grouped together like that. See that? How this is all one piece and that is all one piece. But this is the original design that I digitized, and so it hasn't been grouped yet. Bringing them in from the side here, like if I go to any design and I drag and drop to bring it in, it comes in grouped. So when you bring them in, it kind of treats them like one thing. But when you digitize them, they could be multiple pieces. And so if I try to move the design and I click and I drag, and if all I get is a piece of Winnie the Pooh, then that's an indication that it's not grouped together. I'll just hit undo. And maybe what I could do is like click and drag to draw a little box to select all of that stuff and just do it myself. Group. Now I can work my layout out and move these things around wherever I want. It's all one piece. So one of the things I wanted to do today was a little bit of digitizing it, but another thing I thought we could talk about was, how to customize your workspace, because I like it to be nice and big like this. Even if there's only 2 designs, it doesn't bother me if it takes up a bigger area, because sometimes I click on a folder and it needs the space, and it's just nice to see it all at one time. And now if I click on that big one with the lots of designs, it shows me a bunch of them all at one time, and I can scroll just with my mouse, has a wheel on it, and I can just go through and find and it's such a nice way to browse. So I do a lot of it this way anyway. Do you guys customize your workspace? Do you know, first of all, there's a button right here. It's the workspace button, right? If you click on it, I can reset the workspace back to like factory defaults, which apparently is like even makes it kind of like smaller than the whole screen of my computer, but I can click on the maximize to make it take the whole thing. But notice underneath the button there were some ones up the top like T2 and T new and T favorite. Well, you won't have those. Those are mine that I saved, because you can. So the point here is you can make changes and save them. And on my other computer that I do a lot of my digitizing on, I have other ones like T-Sketch, my Trevor Sketch one. And Leo and I share that computer, so sometimes they have theirs too, and so so what would I do if I was going to sketch one? Well, for example, I might make my workspace bigger. So really it depends on how big your computer is, because the bigger the desktop size, the more white space you get. But if you do have kind of like a smaller laptop, you might be looking at a situation where you don't have as much white space compared to how much menu space there is. So sometimes I'll close menus and save them, and save a workspace that doesn't have all the menus open. And how would you do that, Trevor? Well, here's a menu. I can move them. If I pull it down, I can make it floating. It's called the transform menu. Everywhere there's a set of little 3 dotted lines is another menu that you can pick up. Looks like this one's a long one because it goes all the way to there. See, I can drag it to I can drag it right off and make it floating, or I can put it over top of the toolbar space. But if I move it, I can put it on, this one. I can make a new line. But what I'm really trying to do is make less lines, right? I want to make more white space. And sometimes by just saying, when I'm doing my digitizing, maybe if I'm doing thread sketch, I could have one window for all the editing, and I could have one for all the digitizing. It's up to you if you want to do it or not. You can just have the default. You don't have to have multiple ones. But once I bring them off and they're floating, I can also click on the X to close them. Like that, and I close them. Now, if you're like, oh my goodness, how do you get them back once you've closed them? It's this toolbar's drop-down menu. And notice the ones that are unchecked are the ones that I closed. And if I click on it, it'll put it back. And technically, you don't have to drag it off the workspace to do that, because see, I can put it right there on a toolbar space, but I can still go to the toolbars menu and I can still turn it off. Which one was that? Sorry. I think it was the modify and optimize. Yeah. So see how I can make it hidden, but if you want, you can just hide them. You don't have to draw. You can say, this one I don't need, that one I don't need. I'm not using the text when I do this. I don't need the assets, and as you go through this, and you can maybe start to get rid of some of the total quilter stuff, you'll see how these toolbars start to kind of empty up, And if you get rid of everything on the toolbar space, watch when I get rid of this next one, the tool artwork box, that whole space went away. And there's one left over here. I guess it's my alignment tools. You can either move them up there. So see, I got rid of 2 toolbar spaces there. And if you're like, this is exactly how I want it, then you click on the button for toolbars and you choose Save Workspace. Yeah, so you can make any kind of name you want for it. We'll call this one Today. Today. Because tomorrow I might not like it. So I'll delete it, and really but now watch if I go click on my toolbars button and I click on, let's say, reset, it's going to go right back to like factory settings. But if I want, I can click on the button and then I can click on today and it goes back to today's settings, and that's kind of cool. And then if you're like, I don't need that today, that's, nothing I'm going to use anymore, you can say delete workspace. And now you get a list of which ones do you want to delete. You want to delete today, just go ahead and delete it. And now we no longer have anything special for today. Did you have a question, Nick?
Yeah, stitch me up. It's saying, what program are you using?
Oh, good question. Yeah. This is my Floriani embroidery software. Basically, it kind of starts by visiting the RNK Software Club website. So thanks for asking. If you watch me live on Facebook, I often have little tips and tricks about it. And today I'm actually planning to do a little digitizing, but here, let me come on screen and interact with you guys a little bit and see if anybody has any questions. I have time today. If you want to know anything at all, the program is called Floriani. You could call it a lot of names because there's different levels to it. So the free version is called Creative Express. If you don't already have it, I would suggest I'll show you before we go how to get it. Just download it. You can start with the free stuff. And then there you can try Rainbow is a fun one, right? You can get Floriani Rainbow. Most people sell it for around $99. And it kind of goes from there. The deluxe is called if you were to attend an event, where it was in a store, they often bundle it all together into like a little package, call it the Universal Bundle or something like that. But it's FTCU is the main program, right? That's what people know us as. FTCU, Floriani, Total Control, Universal or Unlimited. And I work for Floriani. I'm the software manager at R&K. And so although a lot of what I do at Sunset Stitches is not specifically about R&K, it is always kind of related. I was going to do some digitizing. Let me do that. And you guys, if you want to ask a question like, how do you do something? So first of all, I've messed my whole workspace up. I need to get it back. And I have the T favorite, right? Because that puts things where I like to put them. Because notice that I like to make my sequence bar beside my properties box. That way, when I select something, I have full view of the properties box and I have a full view of my sequence. So because I think the default is like they're half and half. They share the space, but I have a nice big desktop. And so I'm willing to share some of the white space with toolbars. And that's, I think, one of the coolest things about the Floriani is that you can just do that, right? You can change them. Stitched Me Up asked about what it is. Let me show. I'm just going to go on my web browser here. Watch. This will hurt your eyes for a minute. It's the rnksoftware.club. That is where you can get the software. Yeah, right there. RNK here. Let me put my Nick, you're supposed to remind me to put my yellow ring on. Yeah, now he's giving me the thumbs up. The yellow ring just helps too. It's nothing to do with anything other than it's a yellow ring that I use to track what I'm pointing at. But rnksoftware.club is the website where if you can download any of the software that is made by R&K Distributing. And that would be Floriani software, Embellish software, Quilter Select software, Quilter Select Design and Quilt is a fun one. And these are all the Floriani embroidery ones. You might have Fusion, you might have FTCU. I'll say FTCU is kind of the main Cadillac of it all. And, people then might add to it things like Total Quilter or Sketch-A-Stitch. But that said, sometimes people just get Sketch-A-Stitch and don't own anything else. And so there's really no right or wrong way to own it. But if you don't own any of it, you could download it and install it, and it'll be called Creative Express. And so Creative Express is like the free version. And if you want to watch training videos and learn all about it, or look at the manual, but basically you can just click here to download it. And what you'll find out is all the same download. So no matter what program you may have already purchased, or even if you've never purchased it, you just click here to start the download. And then like most programs, kind of click next and okay and all that stuff until it's done. And then you can open it. And now you have, and even with the free program, you have the yellow tabs. So the browser at the top is like any location of my computer. Now here, this is my PC, my C drive, my DVD drive, or USB sticks, whatever you have connected, you could look at it. And like the library, it's the same thing. Whatever you point this at, if you click on designs, you'll see the designs. So there's maps from my on my desktop. There are maps from how to get to Ness Creek. So and that shows up, right? Because it doesn't just show embroidery designs, it'll show images. You can use this browser and the library to look at artwork, like vector artwork. So it's very cool that it can iconize everything. And if you make it nice and big like I do, then when you click on something that has a lot of stuff in it, you can quickly browse through it. And like, for example, here's one that has this one has JPEGs, has embroidery designs, has vector images. So all in one window, I'm looking at different kinds of files. And it tells me this one's a BMP image, this one's a WAF embroidery design. Some of them are PES embroidery designs. Some of them are SVG artwork files. This is a JEF. And whatever you want to open, you just drag it onto your workspace, whether it be an embroidery design or whether it be vector artwork. That's the kind of neat thing about it. Now, if it's vector artwork, when you have embroidery software like this, the vector artwork is kind of like an empty coloring book, just waiting for you to assign the kind of thread, right? All you have to do now, it's all grouped together. So that's not going to help me if I want to assign thread to it. So then I'll just click ungroup so that it's no longer grouped. And that way I should be able to just click on blue to get just the sewing machine's background. And I can click on fill and boom, fill that in with thread. And, now we're creating embroidery from our vector artwork, so you might, and that's cool thing about that is there's a lot of vector artwork available now as kind of free clip art because people use it for cutting, right? That's the, SVG format is vector artwork for digital cutting machines. So anything that's good for a digital cutting machine, if you have Floriani, you can literally just open it up and interact with it, with the artwork files. So that's kind of one of the cool things. Hey, do you have any questions for me, Nick? Because if not, I might do some digitizing here. Say that again.
You're good to go.
I'm good to go. So you guys, if you're tuning in live, and it looks like there's a few, thank you. Welcome to Sunset Stitches. What I have on my screen is like Winnie the Pooh, it's a JPEG or it's a picture, right? If you look really close, it's made up of pixels. There's no embroidery shapes. It's the opposite of an SVG, right? It's an image. And so somebody has to digitize it. And yeah, I could probably run this through the digitizing wizard, but no, I don't think it would give me exactly what I want, and it doesn't take long to make these things. Like if I click on this one, I messed this one up all entirely, right? Well, let's go to this one. And I bring in the background for it. You can see that, I worked from the original drawing. So these are drawings that are, I guess recently became kind of copyright free. And I thought it would be fun to use them as, a little subject to talk about while we digitize, but we often branch off from there. So, because the lessons become very repetitive, but it's nice to get work. Now, here's the trick. Okay, remember this one that I started and then I've done so many things to it, like brought in all, and really it's still I don't want to save this. If I do, I would have added all these other elements to that little design, the original design that I made. And all these changes I made, I have no intention of using. I don't need, if I wanted to save this, I could, but I would need to go save as and like give it a new name because I don't want to change my original, right? And right now I haven't clicked save or anything. So if I just close this, all this basically has gone away. We would have lost it. If you're like, no, I love the layout and I need the work and I want to keep working on the sewing machine, then you would go file and you'd save as and you would give it a new name, right? You'd go, okay, now it's not, Winnie the Pooh number 29-A or something and just call, but I don't need it. What I'll do is close it and say, no, don't update the file. That way, if I click open and I open the file, it won't be here. Where is he now? It's Winnie the Pooh. There's Christopher Robin blowing it up. Here's the one that I did already, right? So the reason I wanted to have it open was I thought there might be a bee in here that we could just snitch, right? Like you just click on him and there he's cute. And so we'll just click on copy and then we come on over to the new one that we're starting now and we paste them on in. And so, now you got your little bee. Now, he looks a lot smaller than the ones in the drawing. And so that makes me realize that I really haven't done what I would call like the first step to doing a design, which is to set the size of the image, right? If you're going to do, kind of manual digitize this into run stitches, you probably want to use your backdrop tool to like size it, and what I mean by that is it's 10 inches wide and I'm not planning on embroidering it at 10 inches. I'm planning on doing it at like 4 max, right? So I'll type that in 4 and click OK. And so now it's, there, that's the size. And usually this is kind of a weird thing about me, but I like to pick my artwork up and put it right in the middle. So there I can see on my ruler at the top where 0 is, and I can see where 0 is on the side. And so I just kind of move it to be 0, 0, or I could auto center it, right? With an alignment tool, but there. So it's close enough now. If you put an embroidery hoop on your screen, you see, oh, even with my smallest hoop, it looks like everything kind of fits in there. And so you could put it in a 4-inch square hoop. And now the bee is kind of more the size of the ones in this picture here. Looks like it's like right around the size of that guy. And what I did when I did the other design, I just used the same bee a lot, but then I just did things like made it slightly bigger. And, sometimes, you can rotate them a little bit so they kind of look a little bit slightly different. And I try to pay attention to the sequence of them. Like, and you might not think it would matter, right? Like if I go click and I put this one here and it's like, okay, that's bigger. So let's make it smaller. And then it's kind of like they're getting smaller as they go away, right? So I'll click and and the only trouble with what I'm doing right now is it jumps from this B to this B to this B to this B. And so I'm going from B to next closest B to next closest B. And that's not required, right? I could do this B over here and then jump way over here for this B. And then way back here for this B. And then way over here for this B. And then left and right and left. And does anybody who's attending live know why I would do it that way? Why do I not like it this way? So what I'm saying is, if that's number 1, then, and that's number 2. Number 2 should be this little one way over here. We'll make this one kind of wee and, make it smaller. And then number 3 can be back over here. But then number 4 should be like far away again. So maybe that becomes the big one. Or maybe you can go back to this one and why would I care to make the jumps longer is what I'm doing, right? So that it goes this one, then this one.
Jump stitches.
Well, right, it's jumping in between, right? So I'm making longer jump stitches, right? That's right. You're almost there, and I know the right, you're trying, say it in the right words. So it's not jump, yes, because we're making the jump stitches longer, And that helps to do what? Versus smaller ones. Anyone?
Lowers it. I like to do that so my machine will trim.
Yes, the trim. That's exactly right. So it's going to jump regardless. So whoever said jump stitches was very close. So the jump stitches is the jump, 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 because it's going. And and a lot of times I'll do these and I just instinctively want to go left, then right, 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 right. But when I do that, I'm making a very small jump, an even smaller jump, an even smaller jump. Whereas the way I've kind of done it here, I've kind of used copy and paste to use the same little bee for all these bees, but I've been and I've kind of resized and maybe rotated. Sometimes I'll even be like, here, let's flip that one to face the other way, because then they look a little different, right? And another thing I'll say is, if they're close enough to touch, I make them touch. So in that case, I'll get rid of this one. So this one is not close enough to touch. So maybe instead of getting rid of it, I'll just select it and make it be that one. And so let me show you what I would do with this one, because it's kind of there, right? But it's not really. So this one here, if I click on the shape tool, I can kind of see where it starts and stops. It's like right in the middle. Okay, so I wanted to understand that. And what I'm going to do is use my select tool to go ahead and select it again. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to say digitize a path after.
Joyce says, what about...
Just hold on. Digitize a path after. And then now it's all queued up. Just hold on to Joyce's thought for a second, Nick. And when I said digitize a path after, if I click on, for example, digitize run stitch, which is number 2, I would normally just hit number 2 on my keyboard, but digitize. And if I click right where that one started and I just walk, like, let's say here, and then now I'm into this one, and I could throw in a few stitches here and throw in a few stitches there, and then right click, and I basically connected them, right? So if you look at them in the sequence, this one's number 7 and that one's number 6. So because I selected number 6 and said digitize a path after, it added 7 immediately after 6. So I just wanted to point that out. And go ahead and tell me now what Joyce's thoughts were, Nick. Sorry for holding you like that.
Said, what about for people that don't have machines to jump?
Well, so if your machines that don't trim, right? So what Joyce's comment was, what if people that machines that don't trim? So the jumps are going to happen regardless. If your machine trims, usually the question is, why didn't it trim? And the reason why it might not trim is because the jump distance is smaller than your machine's like rules that, each machine might have its own settings that said if it's longer than so far, trim. And even in the software, I can show you how to put a trim command on anywhere you want. We can literally put the trim command on it, but that does not guarantee that your machine will trim. It does if you have a machine that reads trim commands and that understands a trim command. But a lot of machines will handle a trim based on a distance. And in that case, that was why I showed, rather than just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I could do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that way there's a good, 10 millimeter, there's a good half an inch between each one of those little bees. And I guarantee you that my machine will pick those up. So it depends on the machine. If you have a multi-needle, they typically will take the trim codes, and those ones are the ones, but a lot of times the flatbed ones are kind of override that based upon the distance, and so not all the machines are the same. So I can, when we go back on Screen Bigger, I can show you what I mean by the settings where you can ensure that they're turned on, because there's really 2 things. If you're going to jump, like let's just follow through. It's like embroidering, stop. And now we want to jump, and then we want to embroider again. And that's logical, right? Letter A, letter B, you don't want them connected. So you trim in between. And this, and you can hear it when your machine's kind of sewing, right? It's like, and then and then and then it comes again, and the machine really, every stitch is a movement, right? You can move the needle, the hoop moves in XY coordinates, and for every XY, it's either needle down or jump, needle up, right? So if you move, and you don't sew, you're jump, but stitch, jump, right? What you got?
Joyce said, isn't the object to have as few trims and jumps as possible?
Yeah, I would say that it would be a reasonable objective. There are times where you have to make choices. So I would like to have all of those bees connected, but if I did, it would be ugly. So you have to decide, are you going to make a line that connects all your bees? Because if not, you have to jump in between. There's no other option. It's one or the other. You're either trimming in between the bees or you're sewing in between the bees. And so if you don't want, thank you, Suzanne says she likes my sound effects. If you don't want the stitch in between, what you're doing is wanting to trim. And the most important part of all of this that nobody ever talks about is the lock stitches. You can't just trim. It's not just sew, trim. It's lock, right? It'll do a run stitch, stitch. And then at the end of that, it'll do like 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches in a very small area, which creates the knot. Now the machine can trim it. And you can jump, jumps meaning move the hoop with a needle up, move the hoop with a needle up, move the hoop with a needle up, and then do your tie in, needle down, needle down, needle down. And then you're embroidering again. So the tie in and the tie. So for every embroidery element, if I make a circle and I fill it in with thread, I can tell that circle to have a tie in at the beginning and to have a tie off at the end. And if I want, I can tell it to have a thread trim at the end. And those are the settings. So let's look at that. I'll go on because since it came up, let's look at that, right? So if I'm in here and I've made run stitches, right? You can see it. There are 9 run stitch segments here. And I want my machine to trim between all of them but one. Remember? Because I made 7 and 8 connect, right? Remember that? 7 was this one here, and it was like the one that followed 8. So I don't want my machine to trim between 7 and 8. In fact, I could select number 7. So here's the properties box. And up here at the top, that little red square and red circle, that's the tab where you can see that this run stitch is set to have a tie in and a tie off, set to basic. There's also triangle and basic. You have 2 options for your tie-ins and your tie-off. Basic is a straight line. Triangle is a small triangle. And a straight line meaning 1, 2 away, 3, 4 back is what basic is. And so when it starts, and so really technically after number 6, I don't need a tie off, do I? I could turn that off right now. None. And then number 7, I could turn the tie in off because I don't need that either, right? None. And apply. So by doing that, it gets rid of like 8 stitches, in between those two those 2 pieces. We didn't need them. But at the end of this number 7, then I do need a tie off, right? Because then we're going to jump to get down to this one. And at that time, see, end command. So tie in, tie off is one setting. End command is set to normal. But if I want to tell it I need a trim, I turn that on, trim. So, you could do that. In fact, you could say, okay, 7, 8, and 9, they're also getting trims. And so is 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's select them all and make all of those ones get a trim at their end command. and see how every shape you make by default gets a tie in and a tie off. That's a good, that's a default setting that the software knows that for every embroidery element that you make, there should be a tie in and a tie off. But notice how I see you have a question. Just hold on a second. Let me finish this point. Notice how I was able to override it and say, well, you know what? I connected these two, and I don't think I need those extra 1, 2, 3, 4 here and 1, 2, 3, 4 there. That'll put like 8 stitches all right in this one spot where I've already put a bunch. So I took it out. And on that note, one more thing. I don't normally do that, what I just showed you, because I've got an auto lock stitches option. So the auto lock stitch option says, when I save this to a stitch format like PES or JEF, the software will analyze and it will decide based upon a distance that I get to choose whether those lock stitches are needed. So that way I can just leave them turned on, and then if they're not needed, it can remove them, or if they are needed, it can add them. Yeah. So, okay. So I normally just leave that button turned on, and that means the kind of it will help analyze if there's any small ones that can be kind of removed, mainly is what it is. Yeah. So, now you've done all these guys, and then it would be time to start doing the next piece. So basically I can just hit 2 on my keyboard and click, zoom in and start to try and draw what you see, right? Like I'm trying to imagine it now. I don't know, but I like to walk back along my lines so that they're normally done like at least twice. But that is not a rule. Sometimes they get done 3 times. Some of them only get done once, but definitely, Joyce, I'm trying to reduce those jumps, and that's true. So here, let me right click and stop for a minute. And Nick, did you have a question that I breezed over there?
Kind of. Chris Campos was asking if you want to turn the balloon into an applique with some motif stitches inside. Question mark. So I think she was asking you to show. It's
a good question. Yeah. So totally, that's a great question. I love it because that's what I'm here for, right? Is I think we've done enough. How do you do the click, click, click? Because I just watched last week. I've done a lot. So this is a great question. So if you've got an artwork, because remember what I'm starting from was a picture, like a JPEG or basically pixels, right? And today I was just manually clicking on it. I know there's a wizard and it would do certain things, but it wouldn't give me the sort of detailed run lines that I really want. And so I like to make them myself. If you wanted to do something different, and like, what did you say? An applique with motifs or something like that? So that sounds cool. It's just another process, right? So, but I would probably, in every case, I need a shape. But notice I need a very different shape to do what you're suggesting than what I'm doing. Because when I'm doing my run stitches, the shape that I'm doing is basically a line. And I'm clicking to make it, and I'm going up here and over here and around and around and around. And it's a big long line. But in your case, I think what we need is the shape of a balloon that we can make into. So what I would do here, bring me big again, Nick. So imagine that the balloon is what you want to do as an applique. You want to put down a pink fabric, and then you said a motif on top. And I assume what you mean is like a motif edge, like a blanket edge or a fancy edge. So we'll do all that. And then if you want something like a whole motif on top, we can do that too. But at the end of the day, you need a shape. What you need, I could do my whole run stitch of the balloon as I was doing it, but you could still put a piece of fabric under the balloon. So to put the piece of fabric under the balloon, what you need is the shape of the balloon. And I know there's a lot of ways that, people want to be able to just take this red work tool and click on it, and it'll try, like, don't get me wrong. Here, let's take the red work tool and zoom in and click on the black line. If you don't know, the orange magic wand will trace the outline of the black line, so you get a double line. And the red one will trace the center of it. But I often find it just doesn't know where to start or where to stop. It's actually like just clicking on that has made all of that, pretty quickly, right? Like it's quite interesting. Maybe you're like, that's good enough for me. I'm done already, Trevor. Good. That could, but if you don't like what it did, that's what it did. And now you either edit it or you just make your own, and when it's so little, I just usually make my own. But that's what it can do, like in automation, right? But that doesn't make me an applique, does it? What that does is makes me a pretty cool kind of red work run stitch. It didn't get all the lines. It's trying to do center lines. Here, let's just for fun, let's try what would happen if we do the other one. I don't know, because I don't do these things, right? That's why. But I try them a lot. So here, let's turn on. It made like an outline of it. Let's do a there. So that's the difference in the two tools. The auto red work versus the auto artwork makes a similar but different one. One's the center line and one kind of outlines. And like I was saying, I was going to do my clicking myself, right? I think I stopped like right there. So then I would just hit the number 2 and I would just, I like to kind of look at the lines and just decide how they go myself. And I don't know, you still kind of have to make it up, but there's no right or wrong is kind of what I always say. Like you're just trying to follow the artwork. But I like to make them myself so that I have more control over the line that I'm making, and I'll stop. You see what I mean? I made some lines and it doesn't take long. And that way, if you said to me, you want to applique it, perfect. So do all your run stitching. If in fact, that's what you want for the, the finish. If you just wanted to add that fabric in there, then what you would do is you would take your artwork tool, right? Your pencil, and you would just draw the shape of the fabric. So I'll zoom in a little bit. Do you want fabric underneath that, or is it too small for fabric and that can just be your detail lines? And so to me, I'm like, yeah, it's probably just this shape. This is probably what I want. I'm going to hold down my control key so that I don't have to put too many clicks in. I'm going to instinctually, I'm going to kind of try and trace the outer edge of it, not down the center, but you could go either down the center or outer edge or inner edge, I guess, wouldn't matter. But it's pick one or the other is my thought, I think, is because what I want to get is a nice shape. And if I put one click on the left edge, the next click on the right edge, the next click on the left edge again, it kind of ends up being more of a wiggly line than you realize, right? So I'm saying pick one side, like I'm doing the outside and just tracing the outside. If you're good at it, pick the middle, go down right down the center. But whatever line you draw, that's the shape that you're drawing. That will be the shape of the applique, right? So perhaps if you're planning on doing a motif outline, you moving it to the outside kind of leaves more space for the motif. I don't know. There's no right or wrong. It's just put the line where you want. I right click to stop drawing, but it's just a piece of artwork, right? I only used the artwork tool to draw it. So it's not actually any embroidery element yet. I didn't close it. I'll just show you what I mean. It's actually here. If I hide the other color, can you see how there's like here? Where's the hide the artwork? I didn't close it. So if I made it into an applique, it would start here and end there. If you want it to be like kind of go all the way around the horn, like a closed shape, what you do is you click on the button over here that says close shape, and that'll join the two ends. So there is no beginning and ending to it. There's no right or wrong there. It's just whether you want to have your applique continuous or have a natural starting and ending point. If whatever it is, when I click on the shape here, it's the applique tools right here, right? You just click on it. It'll do a satin border. But I think what you said was you wanted a motif, right? So you just change that to motif, and then you've got all kinds of motif patterns that you can choose from. What I normally do is a blanket edge, right? So that's one of the choices. And the blanket edge will, you'll notice what a blanket edge is. Basically, it puts each stitch to the inside and then takes a stitch along the edge and another one to the inside, and they're very far apart. So it takes it gives that handmade look to it. I've of course created my own, and so that's something that you can do, and I often share this with everybody. In fact, I think you can download it on my website for free if you want to know. I'll show you in a minute. But what I'm saying is, if I do want to do like a motif on it, I have lots of motif patterns that I can choose from, and I can make my own. And so I think I have some in here that are like kind of more, applique style like this. And it'll probably face the wrong way. And be too big. So let me just adjust all of that to kind of go the other way. I can break it apart is what I have to do so that I can micromanage my motif to go the other way. There you go. But yeah, I mean, so now I could have literally the Winnie the Pooh design, but have that balloon. And what I might do for the balloon, like notice that I said break apart. And so now it's like the motif is one stitch. The first run stitch is one stitch. The second run stitch is another. There's three sort of colors here. If I don't want the motif, I can just ditch it. Because to me, if I was doing this, I might go raw edge applique and not have any blanket edge. And so just kind of put your pink fabric down, do the run stitch, trim around it, do another run stitch, call it a day, and then do the rest of the embroidery design. So you would still have these elements that I was going to digitize, right? The ones that were going to look like this would be kind of on top of your applique. So it would still have, it would look like it was really just a colored in element of your sort of thread sketch that you'd made. And so that is kind of how I would do it. Maybe just a raw edge applique, but if you really wanted to do a blanket edge applique, totally could. Yeah. And I think I hid my first color there, so you can kind of see where we're at right now. So it's like I've incorporated an applique into there. Here, let's take this applique shape and copy it and paste it and make it a color, like give it a fabric so that you can see it, like let's go fabrics and what kind of color balloon you want. Pink. There. But now I'll move that to the back so that you can see that the sequence wise, that should be like before the other stuff, right? In other words, all this run stitch needs to go to the end, to the end. So it's either or kind of thing. I can bring that one to the first and then this one here to the first. Sorry, the artwork. Well, here, my menu seems confused. I think it, and what I would do for that, by the way, is reset it. There you go. Now the pink's behind, so you can kind of get the look what I wanted. And these ones are actually trash. I was just kind of showing you guys the auto trace. I mean, that's pretty cool that you can do auto trace. Don't get me wrong. I just know I'm better than the computer. And when I make designs for people, I like to make them as good as I can. So you're right, Joyce. I'm trying to connect all the lines as much as I can. But when I can't connect them, then I need to pay attention to the jumps. And my point here was, first of all, if they're close enough together to connect them, then do connect them. In fact, I probably could have kept going and connected these three together, but eventually it's like, it's too far to connect. I either put more bees in the picture, because that's another option. I could have just made lots of bees, but I'm trying to stick to the original artwork that Mr. Shepherd drew kind of thing, right? And so, yeah, that was my tip. Do them like instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, do them 1 and then 2 over here and 3 back here and 4 over here and 5. Gets a little more trims involved. Yeah, how am I doing for time? You got any chittens and chats more for me, Nicholas? Down at the bottom there, buddy. Check your bottom of your scroll there.
Janet was asking, what does normal mean? Tie in or tie off?
Oh, yeah. I think I answered that right. The normal goes 1, 2 forward and then 3, 4 back, right? So, and then it's basic though, isn't it? It's basic and triangle. Normal, I think, well, what was the terminology? Click on it and then it's here in your properties box. So I think the N command normal meaning nothing assigned. Yeah, I think that's what it's N command that's normal. Start command and end command are normal. which I just think is sort of referring to nothing specific, as opposed to a different kind of code like a jump code or a trim code or a stop code or a frame out code. And frame out code is one I was promising to learn about because I literally don't even know how to do it. I have to learn that one. I'll teach it sometime. Yeah. So anyway, interesting conversation today. Hey, I got a question for you guys. Maybe you can answer it for me. When I do my workspace and I get, and I update my software and and then I might reset up my workspace to have my menus where I like them, like I was saying, and customize my workspace. One of the things that I'll do is, for example, turn off my grid. So I know there is a grid, but I'll turn it off. But of course, it's a button I can quickly get it back on and off. So, what are the things that you like to do to make yours kind of customized? I'll tell you, one of my favorites is to change the color. Do you guys ever change the color of your workspace? What's your favorite color for the toolbars? So you go to your preferences, and there's all kinds of things you can customize in the preferences. I won't even attempt to dig into that now. We're 5 minutes from the top of the hour. But the question is, if I go under the View tab at the bottom, this is silver, but there's also aqua, and that makes it a pretty violet color. Or you could do obsidian black, and it gives you this cool kind of charcoal look to it. And another option was the Luna Blue. And I change mine. I throughout the year I change it just to, sometimes I change it daily, but do you change it? And what's your favorite color? Maybe in the summertime I want it to be blue to remind me of the lake, or to make me feel cooler, that because it's so cold or whatever. Sometimes I just like the sort of obsidian black one because it's so unique, and nothing else has that nighttime look to it, right? What's your vote? Anybody? Janet, what do you think? What's your favorite color? Tell me before you go, you guys. Thanks for stopping by today. My name is Trevor Conquergood, and of course, this is Sunset Stitches, and it's Trevor and Nick, and I'll finish up that design, by the way, and make it nice and perfect for you guys, and we'll get that one next time. But Janet likes the violet. She likes the violet. Lori likes the silver, the real classic. Silver is like the classic, and I like it too, but it just so looks like everybody else's. And every time I change it to one of the colors, it's like, oh, I got a very unique, nobody has a blue software, right? Or purple. Do we need to add more colors? Is that what you want to say to me? Where's the hot pink one, Trevor? Because we could probably request that, as the, if that's what people thought, where's the green one, Trevor? I'm a green person, or, yellow. So maybe that's something that we should ask for. I don't know. It's kind of fun already. We have 4 choices right now, and it's just preset toolbar layouts. So yeah. Any more comments? Thanks, everybody. Lori, it's nice to see you. Linda, it's awesome to see you guys. Lori says we need teal ombre. I like that. That sounds cool. Teal ombre. And Chris says I am a green person. So see, I think we're onto something here. We need a few more colors for it, so we can put that on our wish list. I can tell you right now that when we do release our Floriani software update that's upcoming, this is not part of it. Okay, so these are ideas that I can put on a list and bring forward to our team. And thank you so much for visiting with me today, you guys. It's great for people to stop by Sunset Stitches. I missed you guys. I haven't been live for a couple Wednesdays here, and so I hope you enjoyed. Did you get the fonts though? Like, did you still stop by on Friday? I went live on Friday, but I was up north. That was a pre-record, and so it just that way I can set, post this video on Friday at this time. But the reality is I wasn't there Friday. I was up in the forest at the music festival. So I'm not doing live on Friday every week. We're just simply posting the font and probably some sort of a video announcing it. So right now I'm only going live once a week, and it's on Wednesday. And if you guys want to come and hang with me, ask questions, or just catch up, please do. I will tell you that next week I will have news of a 2024 members retreat for my Embroidery Club Season 2. And I'm going to put it on sale for everybody that needs to join it. But we're doing 5 days, a whole week retreat for Embroidery Club Season 2, and that will be absolutely free for members. So if you're already a member of Trevor and Friends Embroidery Club Season 2, just know that you have a retreat coming up. And if you can't attend it live, as always, it will all be recorded, and it will be available from the members download page. So it's going to be the last week of August are the dates. And I don't have anything posted on the website, but I am working on that. And so that will be awesome. If you guys are interested in attending, there are going to be some excellent classes and ones that I've never recorded before. So it'll be my embroidery recipe box segments, that are just things that I've really never done in a recording like that. And I think they'll make a great set of 5 special recordings for the members of the Embroidery Club. So yeah, so in addition to all the beautiful embroidery designs and all the cool projects that are part of Trevor and Friends Embroidery Club, we're doing a live members retreat in August, and everyone's welcome to attend. So I'll post more information on my website soon, and I will email about that. And then going forward, when I go live, I'll be able to talk more specifically about the details and the bundles or the special value if you aren't already a member. All that said, you guys, I want to thank you guys for stopping into the studio today. It was great to see everybody. Thanks so much. Until next week, just have a great day, and thanks for watching. And I guess bye for now.